Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Abigail Snyder's podcast. It's not just you. We have today with us special guest Marnie Wolfert. Again, this is the extended version. We did the short one, which isn't so short, but it definitely was. Marnie was experiencing some lightheadedness. Can I say it, Marnie? They told you have? She,
Yes.
she has
Or
hyper. You go ahead.
Hyperemesis gravidarum. Hard to remember how to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you listen to the first podcast, she's currently pregnant. Yay, 3 months pregnant, and getting all the things that are involved with pregnancy. So you're just tell us some of what you're feeling right now.
Yes. But also, for the listeners, Abigail knew me as Marnie Wolfert for many years, but just to clarify that my married name now is Weisbrod. So that's why you see the Weisbrod there. But
I
you probably
literally
realize
just
you were
realized
introduced.
that.
That's okay, just to clear up that, but I was both or am
That
both.
just goes to show like we've been friends for so long.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you
I
know
can't
me.
even see you as Wiper, even though I was there at the altar with you as a bridesmaid. Okay.
Yeah. So, so what did you say what I'm going through right now? I totally lost track of the question there.
Yeah, so tell us what you're experiencing right now, and explaining why we're not able to do the extended version like we were planning on, because this is life and this is what happens. You go to do something and you have a plan, but when it comes to women getting periods and pregnancies and miscarriages, the body takes over and you can't do all those things, and that's the way it is. And the more we accept that, the better off we're going to be. So let's just talk a little bit about what you're feeling right now, today, in this moment.
Yes. So, this diagnosis of hyperemesis gravidarum is basically it can have a couple different sides to it, and the version that I am dealing with is a version with a lot of nausea, where for the past about 7 weeks I've had fluctuates a little, but a lot of nausea that often keeps me in bed all day. And the other part of this is that I'm not able to sit or stand for very long periods. It's start to get lightheaded or faint, or the best way I can describe it is I feel like there's almost like holes in my feet and everything just drains out like in a very short amount of time. So
Hmm.
I find I can't stand sometimes for more than 5 or 10 minutes, and it's as if energy, even focus, I kind of lose, maybe not visual focus, but mental focus. If someone's talking to me, it all kind of goes away and I have to lie down and kind of rest and regather myself. So sitting, I can do a little more, but I'm 12 weeks today, as we had said, and so some of it's getting a little better. So like a couple weeks ago, I tried to do a sitting video and I couldn't even go past a half an hour. I
Hmm.
started to feel very sick and just had to end it. So the fact that we've been on now for um, an hour is progress.
Hey, let's
But
go. I'll
yeah.
take it. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's getting maybe a little better, but it's quite an exhausting journey physically, mentally, just trying to hang in there, take it a day at a time, an hour at a time.
That's what you do.
Yeah, very trying to fight off depression that wants to set in when you just are so out of
Mm.
control and just so miserable for long periods of time. And as Abigail said, there's a lot of life that just has to get dropped off or cut out. You just can't do most things. And
Mm.
so there's a lot more that could be said about the whole experience of these past 7 weeks for myself and my husband and my daughter going through this, but that that's a snapshot. So
Cool. Okay, we appreciate that. We'll take that. Going back to what you were saying before, I just want to briefly talk about, we've talked a lot about your body and your relationship with your children, and I just want to talk just a few minutes about your husband, your relationship with your husband. What has that been like? What have you needed him for? What has he been good about that you it just meant the world to you, was so supportive, that maybe could help our listeners know how to communicate what they need from their spouses, from their significant others? Because a lot of times we expect them to know, and like we don't even know ourselves. And so it's like,
Mm.
what helped you identify what you needed, and then how are you able to communicate that was super helpful for you?
Well, I know, I'm very aware that I'm blessed with a spouse who has above average empathy and sort of a serving demeanor. So he's always trying to understand and anticipate my needs. And his
That's cool.
motto in this marriage is always putting me first. And he literally does that all the time. And so there still do arise some situations where I'm going through something like with the miscarriages, for example, where I don't know how to communicate it, but I realize that, he does need something to go on. So at one point, I remember telling him between the miscarriages, just with sort of that fertility roller coaster we alluded to, of I kind of just said to him, I know over these next weeks, I'm going to be experiencing some intense emotions, and it's hard to describe them. And I know they're just part of this journey of will I get pregnant? Am I pregnant? What's going to happen with the pregnancy? And he very much, I think a lot of men do wanted to sort of protect me from the hardship, from the emotional loss, from he saw how it hit me and how I was grieving and how it was hard. And he wanted to protect me from that
Hmm.
in whatever way that he could, maybe just not even trying to get pregnant. And that I saw that that was very, very sweet and caring for him, and that so much of what I was going through was something that he couldn't do anything about. And that's very hard for someone who loves you so much. They want to be able to do something about it. And so we kind of had to, sort of talk through these deep experiences that we were each going through to understand that on the one hand, even though I'm going through a lot of loss and a lot of emotion, um, I still want to take that pregnancy test at 9 days after ovulation because I want to know if I was pregnant or not. Even if I lose it, I need to know if I was carrying a baby.
Hmm.
Whereas he might have suggested, well, just don't even take the test because then you won't know if you lost it so early. You won't have to go through that loss.
So there was like a conflict of interest, like you had your reasons why you wanted to do something like that, and but he's also like, I don't want you to get hurt again. So there's this conflict.
Yeah. So just kind of and trying to find the ground where there's just going to be things like through his eyes, I needed to be aware of what kind of toll this was taking on me and help
Mhm.
to make decisions that didn't put me in that position unnecessarily. Like after the third miscarriage, definitively deciding we're going to take a break because I need to take in the reality that this takes a big toll on me, and he might see it even more than I do. But then on my side, because of, my body producing a child, like I really need to know that and I want to know that. And so him being able to sort of accept that, like, as hard as it may be, that's something that I need to do.
So did
So
he accept it, and then that y'all worked that out? Was that heated?
no, it wasn't really heated. It was just, I think that we just kind of had to revisit it a few times and share what was kind of going on. And I think at the foundation of, the relationship, what really helps is just having a lot of trust. Because you have to get to points where even if you don't understand what the other person, where they're coming from, you trust that like they that they have their reasons and they have your best interests at heart. And so you can respect that and take that in and, and make decisions based on that information. Um, so yeah, just a lot of conversations. Yeah, and some things you just have to accept are a bit of a mystery about the other person. You'll never totally figure out, certain experiences for the woman and certain experiences for the man, but the both are very valid, and to never sort of speak critically or negatively about why are you experiencing that doesn't make sense. You shouldn't be experiencing that, because a woman can't tell a man, like you should experience it like this, or a man to a woman, like maybe if things are getting extreme, unbalanced, unhealthy, but you can't sort of turn their experience, into yours or something. So just having a lot of respect there and a lot of trust. And in this time of sickness, he's just taking care of everything. He's taking care of our daughter, taking care of the house, taking care of the outside, taking care, I mean, just everything. So it's in these times we both have this mutual sense that we're both giving everything that we can give in our own realms. And
Mhm.
I think the first pregnancy there was nausea then, there was a lot of nausea, not like this, but it was difficult. That was a learning period because it felt sometimes maybe to him like I was just sitting there. And it was a time when he was doing a lot of physical work to get our house together. And for
Mhm.
me, it felt like there was constantly more put on me than I could handle. And I felt bad about that I couldn't handle all these things I felt like I should be able to. And I was just trying to deal with the nausea.
Did you
So
feel like, what emotion was that? Like, did you feel guilty,
I think I felt
helpless?
like a bit of a disappointment sometimes, not necessarily like in general too, not specifically like to my husband necessarily all the time, but to myself or to the world. Like I think
This is
women,
not what I wanted my day to look like. I'm
yeah, I think
disappointed.
sometimes we as women receive a message that like you have to be able to do the full extent of motherhood, pregnancy, child raising, and it not get in the way of your professional life if you have one, your relationship socially and familial. Like you're almost supposed to just be able to like absorb it all and still continue to do everything and show up and keep your
So annoying.
schedule
I'm
and
so over it.
so that's just a big learning curve when you can't when you just can't do those things
You
but you
just
have to
can't.
trust
It
yourself.
is what it is. And the
Yeah.
expectation, it's the, I think it might be the expectation of it all. Is like your expectations where you wanted to do all those things during that time, and those expectations were not being met. And so it's almost like another sense of loss all over again. It's I can see like this pattern of just loss after loss after loss. And I can understand why you were talking earlier about the depression, especially since you were having trouble focusing. Anytime anybody has trouble focusing their thoughts, that is usually when the depression cloud will come in and start doing its thing. And so it makes a lot of sense that was a struggle. And I do want to be cognizant. How are you feeling right now? Do you want to
Yeah, I'm hanging in there for a little bit longer, just kind of
let's
propping myself up.
what's something that you would suggest a woman to suggest to her husband, to her significant other, to do in order to understand her better, to be more supportive? Were there any resources that you used, or was there a specific line of communication? I'm sure it was multiple things. What are just like two that you found successful between you and Darren? Because you guys are going strong and you have a beautiful marriage and it's
Mhm.
healthy and wonderful. And tell us what you're doing.
Yeah, I don't think I have particular resources, but I will say that like what's been huge for me in this relationship and in comparison to some previous relationships that it was not there is that my husband will take me at my word. I don't know if that sounds really insignificant, but for me, it's very significant that if I say, for instance, I'm really not feeling well, he'll take that as she's really not feeling well. And so,
Yes. Yes.
or if
No.
I say I can't do this, he takes it as she can't do it. So being
Yeah.
taken at your word, that eliminates the sense of, well, can you just try a little harder? Or,
Mm,
when your spouse doesn't believe you, even if it's in small ways, when they're kind of like, well, prove it to me, or like, not totally sure. But a woman going through all these things needs to be taken at her word because it will break you down if you feel like you have to prove how sick or how struggling you are all the time.
mm.
So if you feel that that's happening in your marriage, then you need to do a deep dive assessment of like, is that trust there? And if it's not, it needs to be worked on. And maybe that's couples counseling. in a lot of relationships, it's not there. The husband fundamentally doesn't believe his wife because she's going to go through a lot of things that don't make sense to him, that he has no experience of. And sometimes when people don't have an experience of something, they have a hard time believing it, that it's real.
Because they
That
can't
happens a
relate to
lot.
it. Hmm.
Yeah. So you need to have a relationship where you both trust each other. Now, what happens sometimes if that's not there is, again, you're constantly having to prove yourself, you're feeling like a disappointment, all these things. But also, you might find yourself over exaggerating at times or being sort of extra grasping because you have to try so hard to get that, acknowledgement and and that just continues to throw off this balance because, if you're exaggerating or, again, you're trying to compensate for not having what you need, but it'll
Mm,
just continue to, so you've got to address that fundamental, if he's not trusting you, why? Is it because his mother did X, Y, and Z? Is it because his father that's just the deeper stuff you probably have to go and address in a counseling session. So that's just got to be there. And when that's there, these times are such a,
game changer.
yeah, they're so hard still, but between you and your husband, they can be such a gift because here I see that I'm struggling, but I'm allowed to struggle. And my husband picks up the slack, and wherever I can, where I see he's struggling, I try to pick up. So we're just trying to give our
Meet each other
all,
halfway.
and
Hmm.
we don't question that. We don't question the other's sort of total gift. So you're in it together, and it builds a lot of strength in your relationship, even as you're struggling. So I think that's big. I know from the mental health therapist perspective, which is my profession, it's hard not to pull in that, aspect, that perspective of things. But I think I'll just leave it at that. That's just the biggest thing that comes to mind.
Thank you, Marnie. This was super helpful. I also think that, yeah, and I wish I would have said that to the listeners. Marnie's she's a therapist. She listens to all. I feel like I contributed to your profession because you listen to all my
Mhm.
problems for so many years. I was your guinea pig. You're welcome. Um, so yeah, she is definitely a working woman, also trying to navigate her pregnancies and her family and her marriage. So if you can relate to that, we're gonna, if you're struggling with your significant other, understanding where you're coming from, that just to understand that you're not alone and that it makes sense that if you're not getting that validation, that you're being taken at your word, it makes you act it out even more, hoping to get what you need. So you almost like over dramatize it. I hate that word, but that's what people are saying. And it backfires because then you look crazy. And once God knows, like Lord knows, once a woman looks crazy, everybody just everything shuts down and she's no longer considered serious. No, she's not taken seriously. Um, that's been my experience, and I've seen it happen with other women. And some women actually are being, there is a difference between actual craziness and the woman just not being listened to. She's just
Mm,
not being
yeah.
taken seriously. So, I think that's great advice is to deep dive into those conversations with why is he not taking you at your word? Because that will start to build this seed of resentment, and resentment is a dead end. So I think that's great. So I think to the takeaway is try to ask your significant other to have that conversation and just ask those tough questions. It's going to be super awkward, but life is awkward. Death is awkward. Giving birth is awkward. Like, you know, just embrace it.
Yeah.
So that is all that we have today. And I want to thank you again, Marnie. But I don't even know how to say it.
It's a tough one. Yeah. Weisbrod. It just like, it means white bread.
If y'all stop, if y'all missed it, I'm still calling her Marnie Wolfert because that's we were friends for so long before she got married, but that's her new name that I need to respect. All right. Well, I love you, Marnie, and thank you for our listeners. And stay tuned to our next podcast of It's Not Just You. Everybody have a great day.